The Soviet Union itself is no more.
The United States military has begun strikes.
Light them all up.
Считаю, что для современного мира однополярная модель не только неприемлема, но и вообще невозможна.
Народные республики Донбасса обратились к России с просьбой о помощи. Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
Russian military is taking chips from dishwashers and refrigerators to fix their military hardware. Russia's industry is in tatters.
Putin is now isolated from the world more than he has ever been.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Good to see all of our viewers and listeners tuning in. We got already 1,500 here. We are joined by, of course, my beautiful co-host, brilliant mind, brilliant scholar, revolutionary, resistance par excellence. If you wanted to meet Femme Fatale, she's the one. My beloved co-host, Sarah. And of course, by my two Iranian brothers, Uncle Haz and Nima. Welcome, welcome. We have a full house today and a lot to talk about. As we said, breaking news, we have bombing still ongoing in Beirut. So it looks like the Zionists are still out there for blood, the satanic regime. So let's get into it. Sarah, take us away. Where do you want to take this today?
Well, it started off as I brought them both on because I was like, Iran wins. We need to bring the Iranians on because last night, when Trump posted, I said, that's it. He has conceded, he has chickened out in time for his deadline. So I think we should go over sort of everything that transpired last night and see how we can put this kind of together up until up to the minute, maybe, I guess. Starting off with the debacle that was the Pakistani prime minister. So
take us away. What do you think?
yeah.
So I just want to just say a few things to you about how the Iranian people feel. So I'm well connected with a lot of family and friends who've got VPN, and I've got videos being sent to me by people who are in the center of Tehran every night that they're there. They are gathering there, and I'm telling you, it's like literally 50-50. 50% of the people don't want to have a ceasefire. And I mean, truly, their attitude is, we don't need a ceasefire. And the other 50% are like, maybe it's better we have a ceasefire because they've learnt their lesson, because they've come on their knees and they have accepted the fact that Iran's got this 10-point plan, and they've accepted that as the basis of the negotiations. So when you've got someone because at the end of the day, you've got to bear in mind, Iran is not the antagonist here. Iran is the defender here. Iran is not the one that attacked first. It's in what you call a defensive escalation ladder. It's a ladder which they will escalate as they get attacked. Iran is able to absorb huge amounts of damage because people don't understand by looking at a map how big Iran is. Iran is the same size as Germany, France, Italy, Britain, and if you add Spain, it's 1.9 million square meters. And Iran on its own is 1.65 million. So we are literally the same size as Western Europe. You cannot have enough munitions to destroy Iran and think that you're going to basically be able to destroy it with munitions. The heart of the people wants to carry on fighting. The government is got a balancing act, and that balancing act is one of, we can't be the aggressor, we can't be the bully, we've got to be the ones that get attacked first, because that's why literally 80% of all Americans support the Iranians and what's happened to them, even though they're watching American assets get destroyed. The American people are in support of the Iranian government because they look at Iran as the plucky country that's standing up and fighting and basically not willing to bend down, just like America in other wars in World War I and II, coming in to support and save the day. Just like Britain was the plucky one that was fighting against the world. So when you've got those kind of conditions, it's an important part of factoring in what you do as a country. We can't be the bully that just goes attacks everyone. And I think our government has done the right thing. They accepted the ceasefire. That was all set out. And to be honest with you, I think the whole point of the acceptance of the ceasefire was literally a way for Donald Trump to climb down from what could potentially have been a catastrophic civilization busting attack that would have been done. And I'm not talking about to Iran. I'm talking about to what would happen if the whole of the Persian Gulf was to go up in flames. If all the oil facilities, the terminals were to go up, the world would go dark. I've written a paper. It's a 34-page document, which goes deeply into, the fragility of these refineries and terminals and how much time it takes to build them, how long you would need, what kind of assets, who are the countries that can make these assets. It's very easy to break it. It's very hard to build it. So that's why, we have to be very careful, because we are the custodians and guardians of the sanity of what happens in this sphere here. Because obviously the Americans and Israelis are not the grown-ups in this room. They are the children. They are the ones that are sticking their, the dummy out, throwing it on the floor, and I want to do this, that, and the other. So I could go on, but I'm going to stop there. But that's how I feel about it. I think Iran should have accepted the ceasefire to keep us in the good graces of the world as the good people. But I think everyone on this panel agrees that there is no way that Israel was ever going to let, the king of Epstein defense not carry on with the war.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty obvious that he's not going to be able to walk away from this situation. Donald Trump is here because of the Epstein files, and because he got bullied into it, and because the Zionists told him, it's going to be easy. Yeah, we're doing like this. Now he's in Iranian we say Zaideh. That means he's got pregnant now. he got pregnant with this whole situation. So I'll be quiet and let others have a conversation and say stuff.
Nima
I
Jan,
think. Oh, God.
Yeah, so I agree with that analysis from Uncle Oz. I think that's kind of why they accepted the terms and the framework, because for them it was also about, well, this is the framework, and if you listen to the wording, it's very interesting. I always tell people, when it comes to the Islamic Republic of Iran, language matters. Listen carefully to everything they say, because they use a lot of words, but every word they use has meaning. And I looked very carefully. I've listened very carefully to the new supreme leaders, what he said when he was his very first speech, then after when he's spoken, and I listened very carefully to the terminology and the words that Araghchi used yesterday, the foreign minister, foreign secretary, and his wording was very, very clear. We have accepted not to retaliate if they stop attacking us. That was the gist of what he said. And he said exactly what Hoz was kind of pointing to, and that is, well, we're not the aggressor, we're defending ourselves, but this is the framework that Donald Trump has accepted. And now, before we went on, the Speaker of the Parliament, Ghalibaf, he said 3 out of that 10-point plan has already been violated, and as such, the ceasefire, there's nothing, we can't continue with it, essentially. That's a really important to understand that, because a lot of people were angry, and I think Hoz is right, it's 50-50. But I feel that Iran really can't give up, especially, again, Pakistan. Well, everyone wants to talk about Pakistan, but Pakistan is Pakistan has a very special position here. They have a very, very good relationship with China and have had for many, many years. China and Russia are allies with Iran, so they can't take the lead on this. Pakistan has a military agreement with Saudi. They have a very good relationship with the United States. Some would say they are a puppet of the United States, but they're also very, very closely tied to China. So they have a unique position to bring this thing forward. And Iran was not in a position to turn this down blindly. However, Iran has also made it clear, again, what did they say yesterday? The Supreme Council, the National Security Council, what did they say? They said, our finger is on the trigger. I think the exact words they used were any foolish mistakes and miscalculations by the enemy. And that's where we are now. I think that Iran had to do this. And moving forward, Iran has to treat this the way that Russia treats the Ukraine situation. You can negotiate, but the fighting goes on while we negotiate, because we're not dealing with normal actors. We're not dealing with normal geopolitical actors. We're dealing, in my opinion, with Zionism and the worst, and imperialism in its decaying form, meaning we're dealing with the most rabid version of decaying capitalism and fascism that the world has ever seen. And that's important to remember.
I want to talk about how what happened last night, because people in the chat seem very confused about what transpired last night. Maybe they're doing it on purpose, but I was going to go through it anyway. So aside from Trump's truth posts, we got the tweet from the Pakistani PM Sharif. But the peculiar thing about this tweet was that it had been edited. So on the top, you can see that that's the tweet that, well, you'll all see right now. But below it is what was posted originally. And as you can see, someone sent him this tweet to post. It says draft Pakistan PM message on X. Very peculiar. So they were caught in that lie from the get-go. My suspicion, and suspicion of most, is that the United States wrote that tweet themselves and sent it over to the Pakistanis or the American ambassador to Pakistan or whomever was in Islamabad doing the negotiation. So that this is the tweet, and we obviously highlighted the tweet. Now, keeping in mind that this was probably written by the Americans or some other outside person. The ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon. They named it specifically. We obviously highlighted that because later on we'll talk more about Beirut and what's going on in Lebanon.
Can I just jump in here really quick?
Please.
I just want to add one thing. Last night, I was invited live when this news broke on Pakistan TV, and I want to make this public. I was invited live on Pakistan TV, which is a national television program. They broke the news there that there was a ceasefire agreement. Pakistan PM then came on, gave some comments, and then I was the first one up as the foreign commentator. And what did I say? I said, I don't trust President Trump to keep his word. And instantly they cut me off. They booted me from the show. And afterwards, I was told that you cannot criticize Trump on Pakistan TV at this point. So I could not even give criticism on Pakistan TV, the most mild criticism, which that I don't believe that Trump is trustworthy. And so since then, I haven't been invited back on, and I took offense to it because I said, okay, well, I mean, come on. This is Pakistan. You're a nuclear power, and you're going to be so... Pakistan's a nuclear power. It's the only Muslim nuclear power.
Muslim. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there they are like, oh, Donald Trump, we can't offend him. I said, what's wrong with you? Have a spine. But as Nima pointed out, they are always considered puppets of the U.S. You know, ISI has a very close relationship with the CIA historically and with the U.S. government. But that was a real shock to me. So that's to show you that in the minutes after the ceasefire was made public, there was absolutely zero criticism of Trump in Pakistani media that was allowed. Go ahead, continue. Sorry, Sarah.
Okay. And then we got a statement from Arakchi, based Arakchi. But guys, read these statements and read them carefully. He tells them he is responding to a tweet and considering the request. There were no discussions at all. The Americans and the Israelis are just tweeting and making TikTok videos and doing edits and whatever. And Iran is responding to that. There's no indication that there were any formal discussions or even informal discussions. And this is where he says that the negotiations will be based on the 15-point plan. That was the starting point and the general framework of the 10-point proposal by Iran. So that was all last night. And I thought that was just masterful by Arakchi. He said, okay, we'll go with the ceasefire. And just like reminded me of Russia, because Russia can always just say, we haven't changed our conditions for peace. Like Iran has maintained and had those in writing for the entirety of the duration of this attack. I don't hate to call it a conflict. It's an illegal attack on Iran. And so it was just masterful for him to just fire back and say, okay, great. We'll do a ceasefire starting with what we said was needed to have peace. And now we're all caught with our pants down. But what did you guys think last night? I know it was late for both of you because you're in Central Europe and the UK. But
Nima, do you want to go first?
I was on a space with you, Sarah, wasn't I?
That's right.
We were like, I was a bit stunned because, you know, based on that, I was thinking, well, okay, I'm trying to be critical here, but this comes across as a complete win for Iran. But then again, we quickly, you know, we were like, okay, well, will it actually hold? Will it actually be applied? And that's the important thing here. And it hasn't. And the Strait of Hormuz is now closed again. And I love Dmitry Medvedev on Twitter. He is my favorite. You know this. I mean, Medvedev is my guy. Like he is. Yeah, Medvedev on Twitter. Medvedev and Ghalibaf on Twitter are like my power animals. Like they talk the way I would if I were in their positions. So it was really interesting to see. It was like, oh, grand opening, grand closing. So this is where we are. And I think Iran had to go through the motions here because, like I said before we started recording, I think that when you're dealing with Israel, when you're dealing with a U.S., regardless of which administration it is, when you're dealing with the U.S. government, the administration of that government cannot or will not, either is unable to or is unwilling to control and rein Israel in. The end, it doesn't really matter which it is because the end result is the same. And as such, Iran has now proved that you can't do this. Try a negotiation with these people via this way. You have to keep the war going and negotiate at the same time, kind of what Russia's doing in the Ukraine, because you can't even then trust these people. Just go ask Putin and everyone else what happened in Alaska. What happened to the Alaska plan?
Here's your tweets, Nima, from today earlier. It is not clear how the truce between Washington and Tehran will play out, but one thing is certain: Iran has tested its nuclear weapons. It is called the Strait of Hormuz. Its potential is inexhaustible. And then when he found out the strait was closed, he said, well, here it is. The Strait of Hormuz is closed again. The weapons are working.
He's brilliant. Brilliant.
But yes, what are your thoughts, Uncle Haz? I think I spoke. I think I might have messaged you last night, but I was messaging a lot of Iranians saying, "You won, you won." But what are your thoughts? What were your initial thoughts on this sort of kind of tip for this back and forth?
My initial thoughts were that I am grateful to Pakistan. They have been a staunch ally to Iran. They have turned around and, like, you've got to realize that there was a plan that was put in place by the Israelis to kill Abbas Araghchi and to kill the other negotiator, which is Ghalibaf, and they were going to assassinate them because that's what they're good at. And ISI turned around and reported it to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister reported Donald Trump, and Donald Trump told the Israelis, you're not allowed to kill them. We're negotiating with them. So, you know, as much as people are laughing at them, and you know, this is like a joking matter, I appreciate Pakistani people. I appreciate the Pakistani government. I don't like the fact that they are so in bed with the CIA that is keeping them in place at the moment. But the people of Pakistan, the population of Pakistan are all into supporting Iran. I'm not talking about just the Shia.
The people of Pakistan are wonderful.
Exactly. And Afghanistan and all of these countries that have got this Muslim, majority countries are all in support of it. And Pakistan's no different. Unfortunately, a lot of the governments that are Muslim countries have to bow towards Tel Aviv or towards Washington. And that's what corrupts, the flow of goodwill from their people into the halls of power. That's where it fails. I don't blame the Pakistani government for what they've tried to do. And to be honest with you, even one day of respite from bombing is better than no days at all. And I'm glad that we did get that one day. And I don't know if we've been attacked or not, other than by the UAE, which is obviously, a little small agent of Israel and is doing it to make sure that the war continues, that they don't want the ceasefire, because Israel does not want the ceasefire. Israel's point on all of this is to keep going and keep going and keep going. It looks like they're able to take an unbelievable amount of damage. And because Iran is limited by the fact that it doesn't hit civilian infrastructure, it doesn't hit civilian, houses, buildings, schools, universities, and whatever else, Israel is getting away with murder, basically. And what Pakistan has done is allowed for a door to be open. But what it's also done by the same token is it's actually shown the further genocidal attitude of Israel, which is, again, another weapon that is now in the pocket of Iranians and the world to say, look, well, the Iranians did accept a ceasefire and they stopped attacking people. But once again, the rabid dog that is the Israeli state and its International Criminal Court warranted prime minister, who's wanted at The Hague, is making sure that the war continues. Mm-hmm. So everything they've done is actually just helped Iran. It's helped Iran in winning the goodwill of the planet Earth. If there's 8 billion people in the world, if all 8 billion people were aware of what's happening, because I'm not saying everyone is, I'd say 70 to 80% of the world will turn around and say, Iran, do their head in. Another 10% may be indifferent, but there's be about 1 or 2% that are on Israel's side. And that's it. And we can't take chances and start doing things that will harm our friends and allies and also our reputation, because Iran has been absolutely using the doctrine of reciprocity. So they've hit a university, we didn't hit university. They hit an oil field, we hit an oil field, because there's red lines for us of things that we will not do. They've hit 600 odd schools, universities, and places like that. We refuse to lower ourselves to their level as Iranians, because we look at ourselves as a moral army. We look at ourselves as a higher level of, empathic intelligence towards the neighbors that we've got. they show nothing but viciousness. And I call it Satan worship, Moloch, Baal, call it what you will, because when your opening gambit is to target 168 children in a school, not in a single tap, not in a double tap, but in a triple tap attack, 3 times they attacked those children and killed them. Then there is something really wrong with you people. And America, unfortunately, has learnt the lessons of what Israel is doing in being absolutely vicious, and is now made it its own doctrine, thinking it's somehow successful. And maybe the fact that Israel got away with Gaza and no one and nothing stopped it lends it, the confidence to say, well, you know what, let's just do it to other people. No one did anything about Gaza. And that's how I feel about the whole of the Pakistan. And I say it happily. I appreciate everything Pakistan has done. I love Pakistan. I love Afghanistan. I love all of the people that are showing faith and support to the Iranian people and our armed forces and our leadership.
Amen. And the only thing I want to add to that is free Imran Khan. That's all I want to say.
Well, yeah, of course. So after that, we got the saying, Iran and Oman will charge for Strait of Hormuz passage. And I want to remind our viewers that these are not international waters, so that is not a valid argument. These waters belong to both Iran and Oman. And so they were going to charge as they see fit. And then I guess I guess I go to bed at that point, because I wake up to the Pete Hegseth / General Kane press conference this morning. And I don't know if you guys got to see any of that, but it was mostly just a cope session, but we do have 30 seconds of it so you can catch the vibe.
Our troops, our American warriors, deserve the credit for this day. But God deserves all the glory. Tens of thousands of sorties, refuelings, and strikes carried out under the protection of divine providence. A massive effort with miraculous protection. Dude 44 Bravo spoke for all of us. God is good.
Was all about Jesus. I believe the pilot was also compared to Jesus at one point, rising. The miraculous pilot, this 06, probably in his at least late 40s, walked 100 kilometers with a sprained ankle. He scaled a cliff face, an Iranian cliff face, undetected, and hid in a mountain crevice until the wonderful CIA saw him move. And we went in and we got him.
Could I just jump in very quickly and say that the distance off the shore of a country, which is your land, your part of your sea, is 12 nautical miles.
Correct.
The distance from Reshm and between the Sultanate of Oman is less than 24 nautical miles, is the gap. So therefore, it is in fact something that belongs to Iran and does belong to Oman. So there is no doubts whatsoever. So they have been able to take their ships through for gratis. But legally now, we can actually turn around and say, you're actually going through our security zone now, and we are going to actually charge you money because you're going to safely go through and nothing's going to happen to you.
So
Panama and Suez.
I want to speak about that because this is a critical point. Just before we came on air, Christian Amanpour was interviewing the Prime Minister of Greece, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. And what did he say? This is where it becomes a very interesting conundrum. Greece, of course, as you know, has lots of islands, right? If you extend the 12 nautical miles around the hundreds, if not almost 1,000 islands, small rocks, everything, the entire Aegean becomes a Greek lake, which means that there's no international waters by which Turkey or Russia or any other country of the Black Sea can pass their ships without crossing into Greek territory. So what did Greece end up doing? Even though Greece has the right under international law, as you pointed out, 12 nautical miles plus the EEZ shelf, Greece withdrew to 6 miles because if they go to 12 nautical miles, Turkey is going to attack them because it says it's a threat to their national security. And this is part of the ongoing tension. Now, Iran has invoked the 12 nautical miles with Oman. citing their sovereignty. And Greece now on air, the prime minister said this is contrary to international law because they can't do it. And he was saying because Greece is one of the largest shipping nations in the world, I think 25% of all shipping in the world is Greek flagged. He's pissed because he can't do it. Because it's going to create a war tension. But Oman and Iran can happily shake hands and share the money, of which they're going to share half of the profits each. So that's just to show you the geopolitical situation now and the various economic aspects as well as geographical aspects that are involved with this that a lot of people don't understand.
It's not a small amount of money. It's working
No.
out to about
500 billion a year.
It's 96 billion a year.
96
Okay?
a
But
year.
the Sultan, but to Iran, that's 10% of its GDP at the moment. For the Sultanate of Oman, that will become near enough the biggest possible, sector they've got. So that would become Oman's new lifeline. It would give Oman, which is a fantastic ally of Iran,
Yes.
a revenue source to allow it to become a stronger nation that doesn't need the reliance upon its GCC countries, friends and brothers accordingly, how much of a brother they are to Oman. And you've got to bear in mind as well, Oman has actually played the neutral role in many conflicts. They've never, ever taken sides. They've never come out against Iran. So Iran and Oman have got a very special relationship. And like Iranian nationalists are saying, like, why is Iran giving half of our money there? We're not. We're looking after a nation that is our friend. And if you have strong friends, guess what? They can help you in the future. And that's what you need. You need strong allies and friends. You build them up and you turn them into people that have got value that you've helped them create and get, and they'll defend that value in the future with you because you've done right by them. So it's all about the politics of doing and the thing is, it's doing the right thing. That's the most important thing. It's do the right thing by people, and people can trust you to be an honest broker. It's like the Chinese. They're honest brokers. They want to make money. They're on the penny. But you know what? You're not going to get screwed over by them. Like the Russians. If Russians sign a contract with you for this oil at this price, that's the price. They're not going to turn around and say, well, the price has gone up and let's just put the price up. You sign the document, that's what you've got it at. And if it hurts us as Russians, we will just take it because that's what we agreed to. That's how you build rapport and reputation as a country and as a business. So people need to behave like good, honest people. And Sarah, we've completely derailed your whole point.
I don't even remember the point, but I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I like an organic conversation. But now I do forget what I was going to say. So go ahead, Nima. What were you going to say?
No, I agree with I agree with everything Has said, that this is how Iran needs to, or Iran wants to behave, and this is pretty much how the Islamic Republic in its foreign policy has been consistent in how they behave towards friendly countries, towards getting neighborly countries on their side. It's basically, this is the fundamentals of the multipolar order, the new multipolar world that we're all wanting to be born. And that is, we negotiate, we respect each other's sovereignty, we agree deals, and we stand by them. But just again, I hate to be repetitious, but I really think that the only way that Iran can continue, now they've proven to their allies, and that you cannot, any deal, any negotiation, any treaty signed with the United States and Israel is not worth the paper it's printed on. So you have to be, you have to treat this a bit more with suspicion, and you have to have guarantees. And next time you enter into any kind of talks, the war can't stop. You have to continue defending yourself, because these people see all cessation of hostilities as weakness. I mean, look at what they've done to Beirut today. Israel saw that as weakness, and that's how they behave. That's the power projection, because yesterday they were having a meltdown. The Zionists and American media, the Israeli media. I mean, I can't remember what's his name. His name eludes me right now. Israel Katz. Calling it defense minister, calling it, this is like, what did he call it? That's the biggest defeat in Israel's history, the biggest strategic defeat.
Yair Lapid.
Yeah, exactly. Yair Lapid. I mean, I saw a lot of them talking about, these they were not happy about this at all. And so this was I was expecting this. But now that now Iran has shown that this is what happens, they have to continue pedal on the metal when it comes to their military strategy, which has been flawless, and to continue and basically say, we're not against negotiations, but this is the framework. And while this is being agreed, we continue with our defensive actions.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to Lebanon, I want to ask you both, since we're all talking on the topic of allies, how do you both feel about the reaction of Iraq and Iraqis to come right up and sort of step right up? And they were bringing aid by the ton. They seized the Kuwaiti consulate last night. They were bombing the Kurds and the Americans at the same time. And was this something that you expected? And how did you guys kind of feel about that?
So what I'll say to you about Iraq is a country that's been brought about by lines in the sand, very straight lines. Yeah. 60 to 70% of all Iraqis are Shia, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of that region was basically one country until the British decided with the French, they're going to draw lines here and call this, that, and the other. If you've been to Karbala, you've been there.
Mm-hmm.
They all speak Persian. They all speak Arabic and Persian. It's not like there's a separation. The only separation is an international line that's been put in the sand. But if you look at the families of those people, almost all of the people that go to Karbala are the Iranian people. And those people that went there settled there from Iran.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that people don't understand, that there is such a huge amount of unity. Like when Iraq was attacked in 2003 by the Americans, it was the Iranians that came and helped them, fight against and basically support, finance, training and everything else to allow them to fight against ISIS, to allow them to fight against the Americans. And that's, it's a reciprocity again. You helped Iraq, Iraqis are going to help you. And the thing is, the people don't understand is, we call ourselves as Iranians the nation of Imam Hussein.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Iraqis could call themselves anything less than the nation of Imam Hussein? Our holiest site is Karbala. It's in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to attack the Sayyid Ali Khamenei, and you don't think the Iraqi people are going to rise up? It's impossible. I love the fact that Iraqis have stood up and thrown out all of these NATO people. Why are you in Iraq? Get out. We don't need some, Viking Denmark person to come and hang around in Iraq to do what exactly? Get out of our area. We don't need you, whatever. I'm not going to become racist, but you get what I'm saying. I'll shut up about Iraq. I'll let Nima tell you what he thinks as Nima?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I forgot to unmute. Yeah. No, I agree with Hos said in the sense that they have strong cultural and historical ties to Iran, and I'm not surprised by it at all. And I thought it was very nice to see. I saw people in Kashmir do the same thing. People who don't have a lot of wealth, and they were giving it all away to help buy medicine, and I thought that was beautiful. I thought it was a historic moment, that the sacrifice of the Iranian people was not unnoticed by the world, but also by their neighbors and the people and their brothers and sisters in the region. And I thought it was very, very beautiful. I wasn't surprised at all. Asia is different from Europe and culturally different, and people react differently. So I wasn't surprised at all.
It means
exactly.
that our blood is hot. Our blood is hot. And if you look at the Sikhs, if you look at the people in Kashmir, all of these people are people who have suffered colonization. All of them are made up of people who have suffered, empire in one form or another, whether it was Indian empire or whether it was white colonial British empire or any other kind of empire. These people understand what it is to have a boot on your throat and on your face every day that you can't remove. And that's why the people of Kashmir were selling their gold. That's why the people of Iraq have been under pressure for the last 23 odd years. In their thousands, you see videos of them coming, kids giving their pocket money, breaking their pocket piggy bank and whatever. And it's absolutely amazing to see Sikhs, Kashmiris, Punjabis, all of them like praying and being with us in solidarity. And if there was no borders, I promise you millions would come across borders to go, give me a rifle. And that's what would happen. And I'm not talking about just Iraq. I'm talking about from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, from Kashmir, from everywhere. They would just descend. And as we know, the Chechens have said, attack Iran by land and see what we will do.
Mhm.
The Russian, we've got solidarity with everyone, man. It's unbelievable.
It's true.
Unbelievable.
Well, that's what this war needs. Chechens. That's the only ingredients missing.
Oh God, I don't
We
think
need,
that
we need the Chechens.
They're ready. They're ready.
too much kalinga. Anyway, and so if you want to dedicate the rest of our episode to what transpired today and the horrors that Israel is once again engaging, well, never stopped, but the horrors that Israel engaged in this morning for me and during the day, let's take a look at what Israel has been doing to Beirut while the Americans try to spin an insane story.
كمان بصور كمان ضربوها ونزلوها كذا غارة على مدينة صور كذا غارة على مدينة صور الله أكبر طلعت رفاعي هون طلعت رفاعي دربور هون في حدا انتبه ما يقع شيء فوقك
Getting reports that over 200 aircraft participated in that alone, resulting in over 250 deaths and over 1,150 injuries. We singers, a lot of intelligentsia, a lot of very well-established people seem to pass away in this. Journalists, I saw an elegy singer, a lot of like cultural people were wiped out in this strike. And so this was going on today while the Americans were holding their celebratory press conferences. And so that's what the Israelis answer to Trump's ceasefire. What are your thoughts? Chris?
I mean, I spoke today to some friends on the ground in Lebanon. The situation was catastrophic today, really. I saw one video of just the entire skyline of Beirut and just clouds of smoke at every point on the entire skyline. It really was. I mean, it was hundreds of separate strikes today. It shows you the depth of the depravity and barbarism of this satanic regime. Really, I'd never used that term before, especially after October 7th. I've never used that term before, but after that, I can really say that this Zionist regime is a satanic Epstein regime, no doubt about it. I mean, the levels of bloodlust that they have for the people of the region. This is the largest ethnic cleansing. We are witnessing the largest ethnic cleansing in the region since the Nakba. Over 1 million people have been forced from their land. And not only that, the Zionists are systematically destroying all of the houses south of the Litani River. The houses, the schools, the hospitals, the mosques, the churches, everything. Everything that's standing is being destroyed. So we'll see what ends up happening. I am not necessarily convinced that this conflict with, that this war imposed on Lebanon, this conflict that has been going on since this new round of fighting was launched by the Epstein coalition, I don't think that it's going to stop in Lebanon. I think south of Litani is like a do or die moment for the Netanyahu coalition that he has. I think Ben Gvir and Smotrich and the rest of them are salivating to have that land as part of a zone of control, as part of a demilitarized zone, whatever the fuck they want to call it. But what they really want is they want to annex it. They want to annex it. This is part of that expansion project. They want to ultimately take control of that. And they want to see Lebanon as a failed state. I believe the bigger plan is for Lebanon to fail as a state and for Jolani to come in, for there to be something. It's not going to happen. I agree with you. But I think that some people would like some of this to happen. You know, some of them are salivating at the fact that they can create sectarian tensions again here. We know what they did in the 80s. We should not forget the 70s and 80s in Lebanon. All of that. Lebanon before was a very multi-religious and more or less harmonious society for decades. In fact, centuries. Of course, it had its bits of conflict during the Ottoman period. We won't have to get into that. We know about it in the Druze and this and that. Okay. But in terms of stoking that tension, it was the Sykes-Picot and it was the British and the French that stoked a lot of that tension. And then the Zionists when they came. This was their, and then the Americans eventually in the 80s. So I just want to say that for me, the Lebanon now is on the precipice of an abyss for which it's going to ultimately, I think the resistance is ultimately going to give the answer to save the state as much as possible and then to defeat the Zionists on the battlefield. And they will do it. They will do it. It's going to be very costly, but they will do it. There's no doubt about it in my mind. The question is what the Lebanese state will do. Because now, of course, the state is one of the most pro-American that we've seen in Lebanon. So we have to be aware that there's also, they want a civil war scenario. The Zionists are pushing for that because if they can eat each other, it helps them. They can just pull in like they did with Lebanese forces and the phalanges. If you remember, we remember, of course, I was a young kid towards the end of that whole scenario. So I just want people to recognize that this is not the end at this point for Lebanon. Lebanon is going to be a hotspot for many years, I think, at this point.
And just to add to your point, Chris, I mean, today the Lebanese Prime Minister, Nawaf Salam, saying that no one can negotiate on behalf of Lebanon except the Lebanon government whilst they were being attacked. And that was a reference to Iran, which was insisting that the Lebanon should be part of any ceasefire. I mean, that just validates every single thing you said.
No, of course. And what is the Lebanese government doing at this point? The Lebanese army was withdrawing from places while the Zionists were coming in and people were saying, where are you going? Yeah. Where are you going? Fight. Fight. They're coming into our country. Fight. They didn't fight. They withdrew.
One unintended consequence of this will, of course, be that people who are not religiously and politically previously allied with Hezbollah are now looking at Hezbollah as the only line of national defense against Israel. Yeah. This will only strengthen and make Hezbollah more popular. I'm already talking to people who I know there who were not fans of Hezbollah who are saying, no, we need to back Hezbollah right now. So,
So can I just jump in and say a few things about that whole situation? Lebanon has been attacked from the south by ground troops. Hezbollah has destroyed something like 70 to 100 Merkava tanks. They are handing them their asses. On the ground, the Israelis are unable to move forward. It's not just the bravery of Hezbollah that's absolutely amazing in this conflict as a resistance that's stopping their country from being attacked. It's the asymmetric systems by which they are defeating the way the Israelis attack. The Israelis have lost a ton of human beings. They're not used to losing people. So when they lose people, they get in a plane and they go and lash out at Beirut. Southern Beirut, Dahia, is destroyed. There's no targets left for them to destroy because there's no more buildings for them to destroy. They've just moved that destruction into Beirut proper. What they've done by doing that is not everyone in Beirut is a part of the Shia people. They're now impeding upon the lives of people who are just normal Lebanese people, Druze, Christians, and whatever else. And exactly the same thing happened in Iran. You had people who were reformist, conservative, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as the bomb started dropping and it started to hurt everyone, the whole nation stood up and said, you know what? We're all in this together. And that's when Chris turned around and said that Lebanon is going to have problems. Lebanon is going to become a united force against these people. The only people who will not join in are the ones who are I call them the Christians, Israelis, because that's what they are. The Mario Nofels of these people, the James guy who is from whatever. You understand? I'm talking about those guys who hate everyone other than, themselves. They don't really care about their country, and they're also not the majority of the nation either. They're not the biggest group of people, but they're, because of the structure of their government and the way they are built and framed, the president has to be a Christian, Maronite Christian. Anyway, I'm not worried about Lebanon. All I'm worried about is, and I want this message to go to the Lebanese people, you will never, ever be left alone by the Iranians. We've never, ever left anyone who is a part of our resistance alone. We've always backed you up, and we'll always back you up. And, if we're asked to do something, we'll step in and do it. Today, Iran closed the Straits of Hormuz. We could have carried on and said, you know what, leave it. But we didn't. What we did was we said, you need to stop attacking Lebanon. And they chose not to do that. And Israel made the point of, Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire, and Donald Trump and this and the other. Okay, fine, no problem. Straits of Hormuz is closed. And you got to realize, yesterday, Donald Trump getting out of the Straits of Hormuz, or getting it open, was only one thing. For him to have a walkway, a pathway to walk away from having to engage and destroy the what's it called? The electrical grid of Iran. And if he attacked the electrical grid of Iran, Iran would have made the life of the whole of the Persian Gulf uninhabitable. There'd be millions of people that would no longer be able to live in that area. It's now April. I promise you, by June and July, nothing and no one that does not have AC in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Kuwait, or Bahrain would be able to live there anymore. They will all have to go somewhere else because everyone's got used to having electricity and AC. And that would be a complete depopulation. And those people would have to go somewhere else. It will change the way the world is. There'd be nothing left for like, that's 25% of all the oil in the world will be gone. That would have been the consequence of them attacking. That would have been oil at $150 to $250 a barrel. And maybe, the price would come down because there wouldn't be as much demand for the oil, because it's not going to stay linear. Because once prices go up, people say, you know what? I don't need to fly. You know what? I don't need to do that train journey. So prices will come down. But the balance of the value of oil going up is so destructive to the world. Like my phone, my computer, it's polymers. All of these polymers come from oil. And if you don't have 25% of all the world's oil, that oil that they've got will get hoarded. That oil will get hoarded by the militaries. That will get hoarded by people who are saying, like, for our national security, we can't allow this oil to go somewhere else. And that's when the world divides into those that have and those that don't, who are the producers. I mean, Russia and China would actually be in a very nice symbiotic relationship, because China can consume all the oil that Russia can produce, and they can let the rest of the world go to hell. And it would be, good for Russia and China to continue to do what they want. But it's a really complicated story. But as far as Lebanon is concerned, I'm not worried about the people of Lebanon, because the people of Lebanon are like the Iranians. They've got a heart, and they will not surrender or give up. And that's why when we were getting attacked as Iranians, they didn't need to come and attack Israel, but they did. So you know what? We owe them, and we owe them because of what they did for Gaza, because of what they did for Palestine. Every single time Gaza got attacked, they opened up a northern front. It would be the most abuse of the biggest disloyalty in the world if Iran and other people walk away from Lebanon right now and say, you know what, mate, you're on your own, Jack. And that's not happening with us as Muslims, as Shia, as anyone with a shred of humanity in them. Sorry for my speech.
No. I do want to
hear you, Sarah.
to pull up the reactions from the Iranian
I can't
officials.
hear you, Sarah.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you both.
Yeah. Can he hear you?
I don't know.
But I do want to show the Iranian officials' reactions to the attack on Lebanon. And here's Khalibaf who says, you've already violated 3 of the things that were supposed to be the foundation to our negotiations. And in such a situation, bilateral ceasefire and negotiations are unreasonable. And now the Americans obviously tried to do some, I think he'll leave and come right back, tried to do some damage control there's a PBS reporter exchange with the president who says, Lebanon wasn't included. As we've already shown you, it was very much included. I can read it out loud. The reporter says, I asked about Lebanon still being hit, and if he'd seen that. He said, yeah, they were not included in the deal. I said, why not? And if they should be. He said, because of Hezbollah, they were not included in the deal. That'll get taken care of too. It's all right. I asked, and you're okay with the Israelis continuing to hit them? He said, it's part of the deal. Everyone knows that. That's a separate skirmish. Okay, you got to talk faster. Now, I love this because Iran says, no. Like, don't forget, viewers and everybody, the Americans are trying to put Iran on the hook for October 7th, the Beirut bombing of the barracks. So if your proxy is in Israel is going to act like a rabid rogue state, guess who's responsible? You. You armed them, you created them, you nurtured them. And so I really love this angle. Of course, Caroline Levitt at her press conference said that it wasn't included, et cetera, et cetera. And so Ismail Baghehi says, if this isn't yet another case of the U.S. early reneging, then what is it? And so we're back to square one. And here is Mohsen Bazai. He's from one of the senior commanders of the IRGC and we stand with all our might alongside the Hezbollah Mujahideen, and we will punish the Zionist enemy. The responsibility for the collapse of the ceasefire lies with America, which either does not want to or cannot leash its rabid dog. Violations of the ceasefire by America will also not be tolerated. Fantastically, they put the square in the lap of the Americans. What are your thoughts, all 3 of you? And then we'll get some final thoughts before we go.
I just want to add to that. He's not part of the government, but he's an MP, Amir Hossein Sabiti. He said, as predicted, the enemy immediately violated the ceasefire, and Ghalibaf correctly stated that with the violation of the ceasefire, further negotiation is no longer logical. But, this is important, but merely declaring a position is not enough. But merely declaring a position is not enough. Israel and the US bases must come again under fire on the ground to show that Iran's response is balanced. And that's the tone now within the Iranian lawmakers and within the Iranian parliament. And they're basically saying, okay, now you've proven your point, now back it up again with military action. And I think that has to be, I hate to be repetitious, this has to be the MO moving forward.
Haas, can you hear us now?
I can hear you now, and I'm sorry, but for some reason,
don't worry about it. Do you have any thoughts on the fact that Iran is finally making America take responsibility for its proxies and the thoughts or the response of the Iranian officials to the breaking of the ceasefire by Israel?
Listen, we all knew that Israel, one way or another, was going to find a way to not actually stick to this. They were going to find an excuse. They were going to make sure that the Epstein class are allowed to carry on doing what they've got to do. And Donald Trump was just looking for an exit from, I am going to destroy your civilization comments. I am going to destroy Bridge and what's it called? Power Day. Bridge and Power Day had to either be done by him or someone had to give him an excuse to be able to step down. Reality of the matter is, I didn't think that we were going to get any kind of ceasefire. I was glad we got the 1 day worth of ceasefire because, great, we got 1 day as well. They're not going to be able to rearm themselves. They don't have anything to be able to rearm themselves with. All they've got left at the moment is the weaponry that they're using in what's it called? In Lebanon. They can't bring that kind of level of devastation over to us because we've got an integrated air defense system, as has been proven by the fact that we've taken down multiple aircraft, and their weaponry that they've got, which is the long distance offshore weaponry, they don't have that anymore. It's done. So they do need to get punished, and I hope that they get punished in a severe way and I definitely want to see the UAE punished more than anybody else, because they were the first people to sign the Abraham Accords, and they have flown over to Iran and done the work of Israel for them, which is continue to escalate and instigate problems for Iran and having the ceasefire. So I think that the UAE needs to be punished in a much harsher way than anybody else. And, you know, Kuwait has been letting them use HIMARS from there. They need to get punished. And Bahrain, I don't know, really. It's about time the people went and kicked these people out. And the Americans don't have a base anyway. It's literally like empty warehouses with holes in it. So I don't know what else we can do to their properties. I mean, Bahrain is the same size as, you know, 3 or 4 Hyde Parks. It's like it's tiny piece of nothing. There's nothing.
What Iran could do, what Iran could do to Bahrain is to bomb that friendship bridge with Saudi Arabia as a form to finally, like as far as if this continues as an escalation. But I just wanted to say,
that was actually one of the named targets. That was one of the targets that Iran named when they were threatening the power plants.
I wanted to ask you, Sarah.
They didn't attack our bridges and destroy all of them, so we can't go and do that. Remember, I said it's about defensive escalation. We can't. We can't jump the.
And it's proportionality, which is a part of international law and international warfare.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask: have you guys? JD Vance gave a ridiculous interview to Fox News.
We've got it. 1 second.
I mean, oh my God.
About Lebanon.
Go ahead, yeah.
Because there seems to be a disagreement about whether Lebanon was included in this proposal. And the Speaker of the Parliament, who you're going to sit across from the table from in Islamabad, has just said that he thinks negotiations would be unreasonable while that war is ongoing. So would you ask Israel to hold off strikes to allow some space for these talks?
Well, first of all, I know there's been some conversations between the Israelis and the leadership of our country today. I haven't been involved in that because I've been busy doing stuff in Hungary. I'm actually supposed to get an update when I get on the plane. But let me say a couple things. First of all, I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran, and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states. Now, that said, the Israelis, as I understand it, again, I'm supposed to get a fuller report when I get on the plane, have actually offered to be, frankly, to check themselves a little bit in Lebanon because they want to make sure that our negotiation is successful. That's not because that is part of the ceasefire. I think that's the Israelis trying to set us up for success, and we'll, of course, see how that unfolds in the next few days. But look, if Iran...
Yeah, man, I got to be honest with you. They have restrained themselves massively.
They're going to pull back so the Americans can.
Imagine this is the restraint they've shown in the last day when they couldn't go and attack anybody else because they've had so many dead that the only thing they can do, it's like Gaza all over again. In Gaza, the Hamas and whatever else would kill 10 of their soldiers in an ambush. They then go and drop bombs on hospitals, in car parks, and just bomb the living daylight out of civilians because their attitude is they've killed 10 of ours, we have to kill 500 of them. And that's what it is. They've lost. Huh?
There's an arithmetic. I've seen some praise.
Americans are 3.8 Israelis.
Yeah.
One Israeli is worth 3.8 Americans.
America.
I don't know the math for Iranians.
No, listen to me. They've turned around and said for the 1,000 Israelis that died on the 7th of October, they want an exacta price of 100,000 people.
Yeah,
they've now exceeded that by 3 or 4. We don't still to this day we don't have a census of how many people they killed. So that's their attitude, and what they're doing to Lebanon is just destroy and kill as many people as we can because we have lost more Merkava tanks than they've had hot dinners. And each one of those Merkava tanks has got a minimum of 10 to 12 because they're not just a tank. It's a tank that carries 10 or 12 people in it. So it's effectively an APC as well as a battle tank that's used. Right. And when you take it out, and you got to bear in mind, they're using first-person drones, same as in Ukraine, same as You know, the Russians are using these first-person view drones that are just going in and just blowing things up. It doesn't take a lot to destroy these things if you hit the right place. Once it becomes immobile, that's just blood and water and flesh waiting to get bulleted or missiled.
Yep.
They haven't got the tanks around them.
Before we go, I have this video that Haz sent me prior to the stream, and I uploaded it. And after that, we'll get your final thoughts. I could tell your back is starting to lean a little bit, Uncle Haz. So we'll get you out of here. I know.
انا لله و انا الیه راجعون. ملت بزرگ ایران، روح بلند پیشوای ملت بزرگ ایران و پیشقراول امت اسلامی حضرت امام خامنه ای با نوشیدن شهد گوارای شهادت در ماه مبارک رمضان به ملکوت اعلا پیوست.
چرا گریه میکنه؟
Really great video. Thank you for sharing that, Haz. I should have given a warning prior. I'm sorry. But I want to get the thoughts of all three of you, since this is your homeland, before we sign off for the day.
This is my feelings right here. That's my feeling. Got nothing else.
There's nothing much more to add to that, really. It's yeah, I mean, I just have the utmost respect, love, admiration for the people of Iran, the resistance, the people of the resistance, who are the last castle of dignity, one of the few in the world. That's all I can say.
Martyrdom is in our DNA. We grew up with all of this. We grew up with Karbala. We grew up with all of our heroes throughout our history, regardless of the invader that came, you know? So it's just it's part of our religion. It's part of our homeland. It's part of our nation, pre-Islam, post-Islam, at all points, you know, whether it was Alexander the Great or later the Mongols came, Hulagu Khan burned most Iranian cities and killed millions of Iranians, millions. And Iran is still here. Iran is still here. No amount of skulls they could pile outside of the cities or the destruction of those castles on tops of mountains that they sieged for years, they couldn't destroy the Iranian nation. In fact, the Mongols then became part of the Iranian nation. They adopted all of our customs and ways. And most of them became Muslim, and most of them adopted. If you go all the way to Central Asia, you see all Persianate style, everything along that road. So I just think that people have to understand that Iran's not going anywhere. And no amount of bombs, not even a nuclear bomb, could destroy Iran. Iran endures forever. Like it's been since the beginning, since the first River Valley civilizations. It will be there until the end of humanity. And so that's what we believe. And I think that's what keeps us going. By the way, you asked me. I had not communicated with my family in Iran since February 27th. I got a message yesterday from my cousin who sent to me, and I had to respond. I had been sending messages all the damn time. And he said, don't worry about us. We are doing just fine. And he sent me lots of fists and hearts. That's the Iranian spirit. That's the Iranian spirit.
You've got to realize something as well. The damage that they're doing is nothing in comparison to the size of the country. People need to understand that. You know, if you go into Tehran, not the whole of Tehran is damaged. It's a city with like 10, 12 million people in it. It's an absolutely, I think it's one of the top 7 or 8 largest cities in the world. There isn't enough munitions to destroy Tehran. So you'll go to places in Tehran where there's nothing, there's no devastation, there's nothing. But, you know, if you go around where the government buildings are, if you go to where the universities are and places like that, they've targeted. Yes, there is damage there. But guess what? That gets cleared up quite quickly as well because the people help out, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You killed me, Sarah.
Well, you sent it to me. I'm
I
sorry.
sent it to you, not because I was crying.
I had sent them the link, and he sent me that, and I said, "Well, I'm going to upload it to the show because that's." I'm sorry, I apologize, but I
There's
think
no
it
need
was
to
a beautiful
apologize.
video, and we try to share stuff that humanizes all of the people behind the axis of resistance as much as we possibly can. And so, and it was interesting today, a story came out about the United States, actually the Pentagon, physically threatening the ambassador from the Vatican, and someone came and said, "You think that they will hesitate to harm religious people? They killed the Ayatollah." And just we need to continuously put that into perspective, that these people have no morals, no scruples, and they don't care who they kill.
I want to say, DD Geopolitics, myself and our wonderful producer were in Beirut for the funeral of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah and Sayyid Safiuddin. I was there. I was in the stadium. Ghalib Buff walked right by me. Larijani, everybody was there. I saw them all walk right by me because we were in the front with the media pool with Jackson and Haz al-Din and everybody else. We were with the crew from Iraq, everybody, all of our friends. And first of all, it was extremely emotional. There's a picture that the press caught of me crying as well. But I want to say that we have not had the funeral for martyr Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei. I believe this is going to be millions, tens of millions on the street. They can't even adjust for the amount of people that will go to Mashhad for this funeral. I mean, that's why it hasn't happened yet. Well, first, it was in the war. Second, it's just going to be enormous. And I think that will be a show of defiance and a show of unity. So I hope myself that I will be there, inshallah. I hope that every Iranian can go who can. But I think that ultimately this will prove, I know they like to say AI and everything, but those people on the streets night after night, I'm sure all of you are in communication with relatives, with friends. Everybody is out there. Everybody is out there. Everybody is defiant at this point. I don't know of anyone who's not defiant. Even cousins of mine who disagree with the government and have their own criticisms and say, God, the economy is bad, this is bad, that's bad. They're all out there because it's not only an attack against the government, it's an attack against the nation, it's an attack against the people. That's what it's an attack against. So I just think that people should get ready because what's to come will be a huge force of unity. And I think that all of the opposition, so-called opposition, Reza Pahlavi, Rajavi, all of these disgusting groups and horrific traitors, the blood is on their hands. And I don't believe they have any more power after this. I think they're done.
I agree. I agree with that.
Well, do you want to give your social media or any final thoughts from either of you? And guys, I'm going to forego the super chats because I just want to end on the poignant note that we're ending on. And we'll read them next time. But from any of you guys,
just Google Hoz. It'll come up.
Google Hoz. That's what I did. I was like, let me go Google his biography.
Yeah, that's it. If you go to any of my social media, it's got my link tree, which has got a link to absolutely everything. Just look up Uncle Hoz. I'm on every platform. But, I only do this because I'm a British politician. I don't do it for money. I don't get paid. Actually, X is the only people that pay me like nearly $200 a month or something. Like, wow. I have never been paid by YouTube, Instagram, or anybody else for anything. And whatever I do out of the love of my defense of Iran, humanity, the poor, the workers, Britain, all the things that matter to me as a human being. That's what I do my social media for. And I don't need any more clout or anything. So just Uncle Hoz if you can feel like it. If you don't, it's all good.
Nima, please tell everyone about your sports journalism and how you tie that into what's kind of going on.
Well, I mean, being of Iranian descent and being a football journalist, soccer journalist, they call it in the US, but football journalist covering Italian football pretty much full time as an independent journalist from 2012 and onwards, building my own platform. And, politics has been part of since the day I knew my name was Nima. I mean, the Palestine struggle demonstrations, I come from a very political background, my family all the way to my grandfather, grandparents. So, Yeah, I mean, I that's what I do. I cover Italian football in English on podcasts and websites, and to me, it's very important because as I told our good friend George Galloway when I was a guest on his show, when on the days after the October 7th happened, it's football and sports is a front in this propaganda war, and it becomes so clear when you look at the interests, I mean, the behavior of FIFA throughout this entire process. Gianni Infantino, essentially, and FIFA putting out a statement or basically inventing international law, saying that the West Bank is historically ground that is that is not decided who it belongs to, which is absolute nonsense. Because they invented that. They just went against the United Nations. They went against the U.S. government even, because the official position of the U.S. government is the two-state solution with 1967 borders. So FIFA just completely last month threw that out because they didn't want to ban Israel. And they gave them a fine and forced them to wear a banner against this discrimination the next 3 home games. I mean, this is the level of corruption we're dealing with in every aspect and facet of life. And it's important that people speak up and people expose and cover and critically do journalism the way that you guys do on this show when it comes to politics and others. We have to hold these people to account. We can't let them get away with this.
I agree. I want to thank you both for coming. Thank you both for everything. To all of the Iranians who are watching us, we are together. We are united. We'll continue to fight as a united people. And to all of the people who are from the resistance countries and all of our comrades and brothers and sisters who are standing with Iran, we salute you. We thank you. And we will be victorious. Victory is ours, no matter the cost, because we are on the side of justice. This is the side of justice and freedom and liberation against our oppressors. So I want to thank you all again and look forward to having you all again soon. And inshallah, everything is going to go well in the coming days and weeks.
Appreciate it. Good to be with you.